APSCO has been able to establish its international impression, and a lot of activities have been started. In a brief way, we have 6 operational networks that we call the cooperative networks, and there are different activities under these cooperative networks. And the first cooperative network is data sharing, a space segment related to ground station systems, space-based object observation networks, education and trainings, and others. There are also strategic networks that include the joint multi-mission satellite, ground-based space object observation network, disaster monitoring and mitigation network, space science, technology, and application network. By these networks, what exactly do we mean is that the available resources within all the member states. Through these networks, these all resources are pooled in and they are shared among all the member states. So for example, for disaster monitoring and mitigation, there are different application projects that have been started. The satellite imagery is shared by the countries free of charge, and it is, in case of disasters, it is being shared with all the member states free of cost. There are a number of space application and related projects considering the particular needs of the member states, which are initiated every year, and these are executed from the annual budgets of APSCO. APSCO has recently created a data sharing network. In this network, different countries contribute and donate their satellite imagery free of cost. More than 6,500 images provided to all member states until now, free of cost. There is another important strategic network, that is the Education and Training Center network. Among every member state, Education and Training Center has been established, and this works virtually. Apart from hands-on training, there are a number of online trainings conducted and online workshops conducted through this network, which connects all the member states. Now, APSCO has, from the beginning, focused on talent cultivation and capacity building of the young generation and of the professionals working in the member states. And with the cooperation of the host country, degree education program has been started, and this was one of the initial activities of APSCO. With this degree education program, the top 3 technical universities of China, they provide scholarships for master's and PhD programs to the students and professionals from the member states. These universities include the Bihang University, the National Polytechnical University, and Harbin Institute of Technology. Besides the degree education program, APSCO focuses on the short-term trainings. These are the online and on-site trainings, and more than 100,000 trainees have benefited from these trainings. There is also another initiative which is about the manufacturing of the satellite. APSCO has taken this initiative of a small student satellite project, and through this project, the technical universities working in member states, they are connected and they practically participate to manufacture small satellites. Right now, for last 2 years, there are 4 universities among the member states which have been cooperating with each other, and 3 small satellites are in way to be launched by the end of 2020, which was the actual plan, but somehow due to the recent epidemic situation and pandemic situation, it will go in the early 2021. So APSCO is going to launch these first 3 indigenous satellites manufactured by the member state universities. And this is not just the first only phase of the small student satellites. This is a sustainable activity of APSCO, which means that after these 3 satellites, there would be a series of other small satellites that includes the microsatellites and cube satellites. Now they would be kept on launching and manufactured by the member states, involving many other universities, involving the wider participation from even the international community, to keep it in a sustainable way and to give a hands-on training and hands-on knowledge transfer to the member state about how to manufacture a satellite or how to develop technology. And the applications or purpose of the small satellite would keep on varying, which means some of the small satellite can function in communication, some can work with remote sensing, and some could form a constellation to provide the communication and navigation services. Besides this, another focus has also been on the college going and university going students, and that we called as a new generation cultivation. And APSCO has started a space science school, CanSat competitions, and many other innovative contexts and competition in cooperation with the international community, with the member states, and even the non-member states. This is about the small satellite that I just defined here. Besides these hands-on training, master's degrees, and technology-related things, we have another aspect that we focus on. It is called the knowledge sharing platforms. So through the knowledge sharing platforms, APSCO organizes two mega international events. One is the International Symposium, and other is the Space Law and Policy Workshop and Forums. We organize these mega international activities after one another. 1 year is the International Symposium that focuses on any topic related to space technology and application. And on the other consecutive year, it is about the having a workshop, forum, or international conference on space law and policy. APSCO overall focuses on capacity building, and the idea is to have more comprehensiveness, priority, continuity, diversity, and practicality. These are the important 5 factors that we keep in considerations while developing any capacity building program. Particularly to the space law and policy related fields, 3 major activities are taken into account. Number 1 is the comprehensive training. Now, this is organizes almost every alternate year. Then there are degree education programs. This include the master's degree in space law, and I will be briefing about these things in the upcoming slides. And as I just mentioned, there are workshop and conferences on related to space law and space policy. So these 3 things overall focused on the capacity building and knowledge sharing in space law and policy. There are some clear objectives that we have in mind while we design the trainings, master's degrees, and international conferences related to space law. The first focus is on creating the capacity within member states to help them to understand and to educate them about the regulatory aspects of space activities. There is a focus to strengthen the space law education at the regional and at the global level, and therefore we focus on much more, not just the regional cooperation, we focus on international cooperation in space law and policy. Another objective is to develop the skills and knowledge of the participants, and also at the same time conducting a useful trial how to use the education curriculum on a space law that has been developed by the UNOSA, which is the United Nations Office for Outer Space. So in our all trainings and educational programs, we take into account the overall curriculum that has been proposed and developed by the United Nations Office on Outer Space. At the same time, there is another objective to provide information related to the national space legislation and policy for the participants. During their training courses, master's degree, a variety of national space legislation of the prominent and spacefaring countries, they are made part of the course that is being taught during the trainings and master's program. And I'll definitely give you a glance in the upcoming slides of the curriculum that we have related to space law. And obviously, there's a focus and objective on promoting the exchange, understanding, and cooperation in the space law and education. So the first thing is the degree education program. The master's degree on space law and policy was introduced in 2016 with Bihang University. APSCO provides scholarships, at least 2 scholarships, to all the member states, which are currently 8. And these scholarships include fully funded tuition fees, air travel, accommodation, and a monthly stipend to the students. So it's a complete package for students from the member states that are given these scholarships. In 2016, the first batch of a master's degree program on space law and policy included 11 participants. And here is the detail of the participants we had from Mongolia, Pakistan, Thailand, Nigeria, Bolivia, Venezuela, and Turkey. This program is hosted by Bihang University, and apart from APSCO, the regional center, the United Nations Regional Center for Space Applications in Asia and Pacific, that is hosted by Beijing, also contributes and participates in this program, and they also provide scholarships to the countries from their region. So this class included the sponsored students from the APSCO member states and the sponsored students from the regional center. And it was a completely international program. All the course contents were of international standards, and the lecturers were invited not only from China, but they were invited from all the renowned international universities that included the professors from United Nations, from the United States, from Germany, from Australia, from Indonesia. And I was personally also a student in the first batch, and I did a degree on space law and policy in that master program. And I must say that it was a wonderful program initiated by APSCO and Bihang University and by the regional center. The second batch of masters in space law started in 2018. It's a biennial program, and after every 2 years, we announced this program for the member states. And more recently, in 2020, the third batch for the master's program on space law and policy is under the recruitment right now. So far, the interviews have been conducted for the candidates, and the procedure is in progress. So this degree education program on masters have included the educational curriculum on space law developed by the United Nations, and it has 4 modules. The first module includes the basic concept of international law and space law. Second module includes international law and other regulations applicable to remote sensing and satellite meteorology and global climate activities. Satellite communication is the third module, and global navigation is the fourth module. The course description that includes the lectures completely in English language, that is the standard language. The thesis is also in English. Courses are organized in 3 and 4 modules as given above. The educational measures include that students and supervisors interact to confirm supervisors, as usually happens in the universities, because this follows a standard procedure. And the major courses include the lectures, self-study, and seminars. Beside these lectures, the one good thing which I felt about this master's degree program was that the university not only provide you lectures from the international and local professors, but they also included practical aspects for the students that included visit to all the space-related entities working in Beijing. And I personally got a lot of exposure about the private organizations, about the private entities working in remote sensing, what kind of regulatory things they have to face. We visited some of the space law and research centers under the Chinese entities. So there was a lot of exposure, not only related to the space law, but about the practical things being happening in a space applications and in space technology manufacturing. We got to go for visits to space observatories around Beijing and even other cities of China. We got to have this opportunity to interact with people who manufacture satellites. So overall, it's not only about learning space law and policy aspects, but also to get an idea how space technology works, how space applications are being developed, how satellite imageries are used. So it was a very interesting program overall. And the testing methods are also, as the regular universities, standards examination of the major courses. And for space law students, there was a law practice required, and students were required to write space law practice reports. And these space law practice reports included country reports that we have to identify what are the current rules, regulations, and laws related to space law and policy within our own country. We were also required to publish at least one international paper in a renowned magazine or to participate in a renowned conference on space law and policy. So these were the requirements of the course, apart from clearing the major courses and writing the thesis. This is the overall course design, which includes a 9-month course study in which we are practically taught the course contents, and we have to attend the regular classes, or the students have to attend the regular classes. And for another 1 year is about writing the thesis. So this whole master program included 9 months course study, and that included 16 class hours. And then for future career students, there was a combination of space law, science, and technology being developed. So generally, when they are designing the course, they also take into account to give a professional exposure to the students, taking into consideration that if they have to become space law experts, they need to join some space organizations, whether private or government sector. So they also need to have some idea about how science and technology works together. And otherwise, a space law professional, student, or expert not only have to be educated, well educated in the regulatory aspects, they also need to have a clear idea and understanding about how space technology works. And this combination would make a good expert in space law and policy. Besides the master's degree program, as I mentioned before, there are short training courses organized for space law and policy. So far, 25 centralized trainings have been organized by APSCO, 7 on-site trainings, 7 online trainings, 32 Asia-Pacific countries participated in these training courses, and 5 African countries, and more than 1,100 trainees have been trained. The on-site training generally includes 7 days of extensive training. And these short trainings also include sometimes a parallel event on a space law related, some conference or the workshop with this. These trainings are organized and not only by APSCO alone, but we generally look for the international cooperation and local cooperation. So we involve the different universities and international organizations working in the field of space law. And our audience is focused on postgraduate students, PhD students, engineers, professionals, and even non-professionals working in this field and who want to pursue their careers in space law and policy. The lecturers which are invited for these training courses are from around the world, and these involve renowned lecturers from the renowned countries and renowned organizations and universities from US, Canada, Sweden, France, the Western world, and even the Asia-Pacific countries, and some of the experts from the United Nations Office of Outer Space. The participants have also been so far very diverse, including a lot of different countries, not only the member states of APSCO, but from the other countries as well. The training material focused on and generally compiles the collection of the presentations on the contemporary issues related to space law. And these are the expert-specific presentations which we invite for training courses. Apart from this, national legislation and policies of the selected countries are also taken into account while designing a training course material. The United Nations 5 treaties on outer space are always part of the training courses. And also, the guidelines are taken from the educational curriculum on space law that is developed by the Outer Space Office. Regarding the space law and policy workshop and conferences, we started our first workshop in 2009 with Iran, and then so far many workshops and many forums have been organized. I would not like to go into the details here. This is just a glance to show all the participants, the kind of workshops and forums we organized. And they are consecutively organized, and we look forward for a lot of other regional and international organizations to join these forums for a collaborative work. In 2017, there was a training course plus a parallel conference in Harbin, and it was co-sponsored by McGill Institute of Air and Space Law and the HIT Harbin Institute of Technology in China. And recently, last year in 2019, a training course was organized in Turkey with the cooperation of Tuvirek Uze. And in parallel to this space law course, a conference was also organized on space law and policy in cooperation with the United Nations for Outer Space Affairs. For space law and policy related things, we always focus on creating more international cooperation, and APSCO has been joining events and conferences organized by other renowned organizations. For the annual event that APSCO organized, whether international symposium or a space law conference, we are always open to look for other international organizations, regional centers to join in, to send and share their participants. And I would like to take this opportunity to share with the regional center for Western Asia, all the collaborating institutes, which Dr. Oni mentioned at the beginning, to share with all of you that APSCO in upcoming year again would be organizing an international space law conference. Generally, we organize this International Space Law Conference in collaboration and cooperation with United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, but we also are open to invite the other organizations and especially the regional centers to join in and to nominate participants for attending these conferences. Another thing that we have in progress and in deliberation at the moment, it is the United Nations initiative on providing legal advisory services related to the national space law development. And APSCO is trying to do a cooperative activity with UNOSA, in which practical legal advisory service will be provided to the member states of APSCO for developing and for providing them a comprehensive service on how to develop national space legislation in a practical way. So this is a very interesting activity that we are looking forward in 2021. And recently, APSCO is in the process of developing a strategy for space law and policy. And it's a 10-year strategy that includes a number of activities and number of targets that we focus on and what actually we plan to do in the upcoming years. So this strategy would allow us to go for more regional and international cooperation. And through this strategy, we would be able to invite a lot of students and participants from around the world to join in our activities. So this is our upcoming programs in the space law and policy related things. This was an overview about space law, how space technology is developed, why space law is important, why national space law, national space policies are important, and why space law capacity building has become crucial at this point in time, and some of the outlook of the activities that APSCO is doing as a regional and international organization. I have taken a lot of time. I originally thought that it would be a 40-minute presentation, but I would like to thank all the participants for bearing with me for your time, and I would be open for questions. Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. First, I have to apologize for some technical problem that happens in my hosting this lecture in the start. We have some questions. Dr. Ammar Sakaji wants to ask a question.
Yes.
In brief, Dr. Ammar.
Yeah.
Dr. Ammar.
تفضل دكتور عمار.
Dr. Ammar.
Yes.
تفضل.
Yeah. Actually, I have two questions. The first one, based on Article 8 of the Outer Space Treaty, the ownership and responsibility. Just would you please just elaborate the outer space debris due to the out-of-service satellites? This is the first question, the debris. The second one about the light pollution of the sun reflection to the recent satellites launched by SpaceX. A few months ago, he said that they will cover the satellites. You know, every batch, it's around 60 satellites to have light pollution. And I think the IAU mentioned that, and he promises that he will have a code and orientation of the new batch of satellites. There's some legal issues behind that or obligation.
Thank you, Dr. Ammar, for the questions. And these are very pertinent questions. And if you remember the slide that I showed about the contemporary issues in the space law related matters, this exactly is what the space law has been deliberating for many years. The Outer Space Treaty generally covers the overall aspect of protecting the space environment, but there are no specific regulation that addresses this space debris problem, or there is no specific clauses that restrict any country to launch a specific number of satellites. So now these are the things which now require, considering the latest development of the space technology, where we see a lot of private entities are coming up, launching and even planning for launching hundreds of satellites. There are companies which have plans to launch 1,200 constellation of small satellites together. So now these are the emerging issues for which a new legal regime, new space international law is required. The international law so far, which is in place, does not have any concrete or hard law on a space debris or on limiting the pollution or launching big series of satellites. However, if I could, right now I could not share this slide again, but the United Nations have developed the guidelines for managing the space debris and for the mitigation of the space debris. Now, why the guidelines or why the soft law is so focused? One reason is that nowadays, there are so many stakeholders. There are 75 nations which are operating the satellites. So the stakes of every country are so high in a space that development of a new international space law or development of a new space treaty has become very much critical and difficult. because you have to bring all the countries on consensus for developing a new international law, something which could be acceptable to these spacefaring countries, which are high in technology, and to the countries who are still in the development phase or at the initial phase of space technology. So there are a lot of concerns. And therefore, all the internationalist experts or majority of the international space law experts, they always look for the solutions, and the possible solutions are to go for the soft space law, which means developing the guidelines, developing the national regulations to limit the pollution of the satellites, to work on the mitigation of the space debris, which is a challenging issue for future space applications. So this is how the legal experts are looking at this thing. But this is very important issue, these two are, and is still under the debate and deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the answer. Thank you so much.
Is there any question? More question, please? If anybody wants to ask, please raise your hand. Then thank you, Dr. Aisha. There's no more question. Please, Dr. Aouni.
Just maybe you wait. I think it is so much interested lecture, and I don't know that there is very less question. Maybe you know the timings for this lecture came that most of our people who they were in actually their offices. That's why, because the difference of timings, it's 5 hours. Always we would actually appreciate if we can extend the timings to start about 5 o'clock in Jordan time, because this will enable most of the people who is willing to attend these kind of lectures. There will be more numbers. Anyhow, I can say that really I was very much impressed by the way of delivering this lecture, which is considered to be very important. And really, Aisha, she was distinguished. I appreciate her way and her methodology of delivering this lecture. And I am very much actually pleased to see our friend, Hui Jiang from CNSA. I say hello to you. I wish you all the best. I hope that we'll see you soon in Jordan with our Professor Xian. Good evening from Jordan to everybody. And you see that really I am very much thankful to all of you. Aisha, you were distinguished, and we were actually very much enjoying this lecture. Let's hope that we will enjoy more and more in the near future your lecture concerning the workshop of Space for Women. I am waiting your actually feedback in this connection, and I would like to hear from Hui Jiang if she would like to speak something. Always we are actually waiting her guidance and recommendation. Will you please, if you would like to, it's your floor.
Okay, thank you. I haven't prepared anything, and when I got the information from Jintian, and I think this is a good opportunity to learn more about space law and policy. So thank you, Ms. Aisha. You have given a wonderful presentation. Yeah, you help us to build a good framework of the space law and regulations. And in fact, in our system, most people from the developing countries. So we need to think more about it. What should we contribute to the space law and policies. Yeah, especially I would like to mention that about long-term sustainability guidelines have been adopted by the UN Coopers. So there are 21 guidelines will be our good guidance for our space activities. So maybe in the near future, we can have some time to discuss how to understand the guidelines, and we need to think about it, what's influence for our future space activity. And this is a good guidance for all of us. But also, I have mentioned that some people have proposed some of the questions just to focus on the new challenges and the new issues in the future. So that means maybe besides the 21 guidelines, we need to think about it. What should be involved in the new guidelines in the future? And maybe APSCO can give some of the good suggestion as our governmental, intergovernmental organization. So I just hope that we have a chance to communicate in this aspect. And by the way, I would like to propose a question to Mr. Awuni, because I know you that you are the chair of the Space 2030 working group. And you know, Space 2030 working group is very important because the group is working on a new policy for the near future. So can you give us some of the information about the Space 2030? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, as you know, COVID-19 has actually banned us for communication. But I received just recently a letter from Secretary of the 2030. You see the head of the 2030 Space Exploration and Innovation and Invention. And as you are aware, that you are one of those which they are playing very important role in this 2030. And we hope that it was supposed to be completed in 2020, this year. But I think now will be delayed at least for the next year. Let's hope that we will pass this actually pandemic, which was crucial for all the world. And we pray that we'll be able to meet again, because most of the work has been achieved. And still we are waiting to be gathered and discuss the future, how we can do it. Thank you very much. You are reminding us of this actually very important work. And just to tell all attendees that Jordan has been selected by actually United Nations, especially China, were actually supporting us to be the chief 2030 actually plan strategy for the future. And we work very much hard for that. And China and other countries, particularly China, I emphasize on that, always they are supporting us. And we do also support them to actually achieve the goal of peace and the goal of the space, future of the space, to be actually accessible to everyone in this world. We are appreciating your help, Hui Jian. I know how much you are working for our regional country, and I wish you all the best. And say hello to everyone of our friends in China, and also our love to our Chinese people. Thank you again for you and for all. And Aisha, my best regards and wish you all the best. And until that time, let's pray that you will enjoy very good health. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ani, and congratulations for becoming the chairperson of the Space 2030 agenda. I didn't know this thing. I know about the Space 2030 working group, but I'm very, very much delighted to hear this thing that you are heading this group. And,
thank you very much. So kind of you. Thank you.
This is the final year for drafting that agenda, so
Yes,
we look forward for a lot of from this whole agenda and plan coming up. I would also like to thank Madam Fei Chuan for providing very useful input for some future discussions. I liked your idea very much that sometime we can also have this talk on how to use these 21 guidelines on long-term sustainability, as this is the most recent one soft law which has been developed in the form of guidelines by the United Nations and after a lot of deliberation. But it's still a lot of countries needs to understand what are the implications of these 21 guidelines on them, especially the newly developing space countries. So this is a really good idea. I look forward to connecting with all you people. I would like to thank all the participants for listening to me, and most of all, Dr. Ani, for connecting me to the wonderful people here and to the regional centers. Thank you so much.
So kind of you. Thank you very much, and goodbye for everybody. I wish you all the best and enjoy your time. Thank you.
Thank you.